Guys, welcome back. I hope you all are doing great. So for today's video, I'm going to do something that one of you requested. So Harleen, who is a subscriber and who comments on my Instagram and also comments on my YouTube videos, asked me to do this video. She asked me to talk about living alone in a foreign country and how do I manage, how do I cook, how do I do all other things of my household, and also how do I deal with homesickness and mood swings and what do I do in my free time. So these were like a lot of questions that she asked, and I thought it was such a good video request because you guys see all the time that I live alone, but you don't know the backstory, how I live alone and how I manage things and everything. Like, you do know it from my vlogs, but not in a very detail. And I'm so sorry for the weird background because I am actually in my living area, so there's gonna be like a lot of echo here. My room was actually not very well lighted today because it's very gloomy outside. It's like all clouds and raining, so that's why I'm filming here, and I'm so sorry for the voice quality. I know it's not going to be the best one. So yeah, let's talk about living alone. For me, like, I know people who think that if you're living alone in a foreign country, things are so depressing and you're so lonely all the time, but for me it's very liberating. I love living alone, and if it's not like I don't like my family or something, but this is something that I always wanted. Obviously I miss my family and I miss living with everyone, and I just think about the time, but this is also not bad. I really enjoy living alone here, and I don't want to sound like weird, but ever since I was a child, I wanted to, be independent and do those things. I don't know if you guys are like that, but I've been always, even when I was young, I used to think, oh, how I'm going to manage my finances and how I'll manage my house and everything of that sort. And I even used to tell this to my mom that, once I move out, I'm going to do this and that and everything. And I evidently remember when I watched Wake Up Sid. It's a movie by Kankana Sen and Ranbir Kapoor. So in that movie, when they show all that, moving out, and she decorates her apartment, it's a one-bedroom apartment, and I'm sure not a lot of people would have liked that, but I love that part. And even now also, I watch that movie only for that song where they're decorating her apartment, and I just love the idea of moving out and being independent by your own and doing all those things that you want to do. So it's never been for me like a change that I didn't wanted. I always wanted. I was just waiting for the right time. So a little backstory again is that, if you guys know, I did my masters from Chandigarh and I was living there alone all by myself as well. So I didn't move out or something. I was not living in a hostel. We had our own house in Chandigarh and I was living there. I had a roommate for 6 months. I had a friend living with me for 6 months, but after that, once she moved out, I was all by myself for 1.5 years. Like, my mom used to come, but that was not exactly living alone because I was living in my own country. I was just 3 hours away from home, and my mom used to come visit me all the time because obviously it was their house, and she used to be there for my exams, and she used to cook all the things for me and freeze it so that I can eat. So living alone has its own different variant. Sometimes when you're living in a hostel, you're also living alone because you're out from your family. Or if, like, I live with 2 other roommates, but I would still consider it as living all by myself because it's not the same as living with a family. So living alone literally has a lot of meanings, and it also means that you're literally living alone in one house or in one apartment, which I was in back in my master's days. So I used to do it was difficult. It was very different back then because I was in India. I had a maid. I had someone to help me with cleaning, with washing my utensils, with doing my laundry, and with cleaning my room sometimes. So yeah, I know I had a lot of responsibility back then as well, but I still had help from other people. And my parents would come, like my dad would come and get my car repaired or something if I did, and like my mom would come and get these things repaired, or she would go grocery shopping for me. So yeah, I was living alone, but it was not exactly living independently because I was dependent on for a lot of things on them, and also money wise and everything of that sort. And then when I decided to move here, I knew that it's all gonna be different. I have to be financially independent, so I have to budget my income, whatever I'm paid, and then I have to maintain my personal life, my professional life, my PhD, and working for YouTube, and cleaning my house, doing my dishes, and doing everything on my own basically. So now, even if my parents wanted to help me, I knew that they couldn't. So yes, it was a little overwhelming for me when I was moving, and I still remember I used to tell my mom that, oh, if I ran out of money, would you guys help me? And they were like, yeah, of course. So it was scary, I won't lie, because it's a new country, you don't know anyone here, and it takes you time to make friends. But for me, I think it is so important to live alone. Now, I'm not saying you to, if you're a teenager, I'm not telling you to fight with your parents and tell them to give you your own house. That's not gonna happen, and you're in India, so for most of us that's not gonna happen. But if you're lucky enough, and if you have an opportunity to be outside your city or be outside of your country, I think you should definitely give it a shot. It's worth the experience. I'm nowhere trying to say that people who live in their houses are bad or they don't grow. They grow so much because they know how to adjust with people, and they know how to go through hard times when you're living in a family, because sometimes you are there, so you have to be there for others as well. So I'm no way comparing myself to other people or something. I have lived in a joint family all my life, so I know how hard it can be. So that's a learning in itself. But if given a chance, and if you are because I know in India it's not that easy to convince your parents to send you out. Like, I still know a lot of people struggle with this thing, but I was lucky enough to have parents who were very supportive. So my sister is also living in Germany, so they were very, very supportive of us going out and being on ourselves. So that was like my little story that Harleen asked me to talk about. I do get homesick a lot of times, but I am pretty, aligned in a way that, I just think about it, okay, I'm living here, there's no point of crying and missing mom and missing home, you just have to work it out. And I am pretty, functional that way, that I just distract myself, I just do something else, and then I'm just back in my same zone. So it happens with me for a very little time that I'm homesick, or I'm having mood, and also for mood swings. I do get mood swings all the time, but there's nobody to bear it, so I generally go through it myself. I would just, lie around, or I would just distract myself. Earlier, my mood swings used to be like really bad. I used to get it out on people all the time, but now I think I've grown out of it, and I just acknowledge it. Okay, you're going through this phase, and just be with it, and you'll be fine. So there are days when I don't step out of the house, and there are days when I just go out with friends and do all crazy things. So it's not like one permanent thing that you can follow. It's always going to be like different experience every single day, and it's going to be different for all of us. Like, some of us might love living alone, some of us would hate the idea of being lonely. So it really depends on your perspective and your choices and how you went through it basically. So yes, that was Harleen's question. And then she also asked, how different it is living in a foreign country. And as I said that it is different, because in India, in Chandigarh, my parents were there, they were supporting me all the time, and this time they're not here and I have to be on my own, and the culture is very different, so it takes you a little bit of time to get used to that cultural change. I won't say it's a cultural shock for me, because in this generation, like, we are millennials, we are watching so many American TV shows, American movies, and we're following so many celebrities who are American. So, like, from different countries, we know how the culture works, but it's still different for us because we haven't experienced it. But it's not like a cultural shock or something. So if you're planning to move out to a country, just research about that country, watch their TV shows, see how their culture is, or something of that sort. So I kind of knew about American culture before. I didn't know all of their slangs or very particular things that you can obviously read blogs and everything, but you should do your research before you move to a different country or a different state. So that was the part that living in a different country was very much full of experience. It has been a full of experience for me, and I would want to experience more different cultures for sure. Like, I don't want to settle down in one place for now. I just want to travel as much as I can and experience different cultures as much as I can. And then Harleen also asked, like, how do you manage all of these things? So one thing that I want to say, which in case you're moving out anytime soon, or you're going to be on your own in a hostel or anywhere, is I would highly recommend have your own routine. Like, have a weekend routine, have a morning, evening routines, and like divide your stuff into different routines so that you are getting your things done and you're not distracted, you're not crying that you're alone all the time, because you have a lot of work to do and you're doing it, and you just enjoy that process of cleaning, of cooking, and everything of that sort. So I think it's so good in a way that you get disciplined, much more disciplined, and you're not dependent on other people for your own work. So yeah, that's something that I like to do, and you guys have seen it throughout my videos that I have routines all the time. And for the cooking part, I still remember when I was living in my house, like with my parents and everyone, I didn't cook anything. I have never ever, I was so bad at cooking. Like, I used to run away from the kitchen. If somebody says, oh, cook this, I used to run away, literally run away. So I was a person who never liked cooking, and in my life I never thought I would ever cook something. And when I moved to Chandigarh, my mom was there with me for almost a month because she was scared that I'm gonna starve, I won't be able to cook anything, and I won't eat outside. So she was like, you have to learn cooking. And then eventually I started to cook like basic dal and basic sabji and everything. I still don't know how to make good chapatis. I struggle with that a lot, and it's something in my mind that that tells me that you can never make perfect gold rotis. So it's fine, just don't stress yourself out because you can't make gold rotis. Just try and learn. And I still remember I used to call my mom and talk to her for like hours, asking her the recipe, and then अब क्या डालना है, अब क्या करना है, ये ऐसे हो गया, इसका कलर चेंज हो गया. So I didn't know anything about cooking. So once I learned how to cook, I now experiment all the time, and I used to cook. Sometimes it used to be like so good, and sometimes it used to be a blunder. And I've literally had rotis and paratha which you have gives you stomach ache. So I used to eat my own rotis and then cry because my stomach used to ache so much. So it's fine, like don't worry, you'll figure it out. Just don't be scared about it. And yeah, that was all about it. And the video is already so long, it's 15 minutes long, and I don't want this to be any longer. So I'm gonna say thank you so much, Harleen, for the question. It really was an interesting one, and I was actually thinking of filming this for such a long time, and you just divided all of those things into different parts, so it was easier for me to talk about it. And I hope you guys liked the video. Let me know in the comments what's your idea on living alone or living away from your family and all of those things. If you are already living alone, then high five. So yeah, this was my little video about living in a foreign country and living all by myself and studying and everything of those things. I haven't covered studying part and some other parts, but I think this is cool. I hope you guys like this video. Please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.